All right, what's up, guys? So my name is Brandon. I'm a used car dealer, and this is my car lot. These are all my cars. And what we have right now is that we have a lot less cars than we had just a few days ago. And the reason is because tax time is here. We sold 18 cars in 3 days. So for all of you that were saying, no, tax money's not coming this year, it's going to be way less, people are going to be spending money on eggs and not buying cars. Well, tax money's here and people are spending on cars. But it feels different this year. So what is going on this year that has not gone on in the past is that we're not getting, or at least we haven't yet gotten some mad dash that we are accustomed to. We haven't had anybody yell at us for selling a car 20 minutes before they get here. We haven't had customers yelling at each other, fighting over who got here first to actually be able to purchase the car that they're both looking at. And that seems a little off. It seems a little weird this year. We also haven't had a day yet that just has felt like complete chaos yet. Kids running around, people lined up out the door, no parking spots available, people parking in the middle of the driveway so traffic just completely stops. Yes, that happens, and it happens way more often than it should. So I think with us seeing what we're seeing right now, with the crowds that we're seeing, with the tax time bump that we're seeing right now, there's going to be two scenarios that play out. It's going to be one of the two. And they're both bad for dealers. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we'll just get right into it. So the first scenario that may happen is what we're all reading, and that tax time is going to be way lighter than it has been in previous years. People are going to get less money back. This is what I believe is probably going to happen. But what that means is that there'll be a much slower tax time for dealers. We will sell less. We will have to cut prices earlier because the money will run out sooner. And the worst part about this for dealers is that dealers like me are all loading up on cars in anticipation of this massive selling season. And if that selling season is short, say it only lasts a week, it only lasts 2 weeks, and people have less money to buy cars, then there's going to be less sales throughout the week. It's just the obvious kind of thing because there's not as much money in the system as these dealers are anticipating there being. So they're going to sell less cars. They're already over leveraged in the stuff that they have, but they're still going to get this little bump, and that little bump is going to tell these dealers that, hey, tax time's coming, it's going to be a good time. So after they get that first initial bump, they're going to rush to auction. It's going to spike the auction prices. They're going to overpay for all of the cars that they buy at those auctions. Then they're going to get them back, and they're not going to be able to sell anything. So that's going to be disaster for these dealers, and they're not going to get that first initial sell-through that they thought they were going to get when they were preparing for this tax season. All right, now scenario 2 is a little bit different from scenario 1, but it actually gets some sell-through rates from these dealers pushing out some inventory. The reason I say that is because every year we get this little bump right before the massive wave of tax checks come to us. And I'm almost curious, and I'm hoping for my dealership that this initial pop that we got, these 18 cars that we sold in 3 days, was that small pop. And the reason why we're doing a much bigger pop on our dealership, and that's what we're seeing, is because our prices are way lower than anybody else's right now. So that's the scenario that I'm hoping for. But the reason why this might even be worse for dealers is because that means that there's going to be a much larger wave than what we've seen and what we have been expecting. And that means these dealers are going to sell a lot of cars. I know that that sounds like that's a good thing for dealers, but hear me out. I actually think it's a terrible thing for these dealers because they're going to sell through a lot of inventory, and there's not any inventory to replace it at these auctions. These new car dealers aren't selling any cars, so we're not getting a lot of trade-ins. I talk a lot about that on other videos. I won't go through that again. But how we get our cars is from these new car trade-ins, and the new car dealers aren't selling. So whenever all these dealers have this big wave of tax checks come in and they sell a lot of vehicles, they're all going to rush to the auction. And instead of just getting a little spike from this tax time bump that these dealers are coming in to demand these cars, and we're all fighting for a little bit, there's going to be a huge wave of all these dealers that have just sold all of their inventory, and they're all going to be fighting for this very limited supply of vehicles. And yes, I'm going to walk by the same row of cars one more again. So the reason why that is so bad is because all of these dealers are going to run up all of these prices, and they're going to pay for them because they need inventory. They have to fill their lots, and they're going to pay whatever it costs to get these cars because they think they're going to continue to sell them. And just as the tax money got here, it's going to go away, and the dealers are going to be even more leveraged in these cars. They're going to have more money in these vehicles than they even have right now, and they're overexposed right now. So that's why scenario 2 is much worse for dealers, because they're going to sell through all of this stuff, and then they're going to have to restock. And the more they sell as the tax checks are here, the worse it's going to get for the used car market for a short period of time. But then I think the greater the crash is going to be on the other side, because if that money is not in the system anymore and these dealers are paying, I'm going to even say $500,000, $1,500 more than they should be paying even at today's prices for these cars at auction, it's just a setup for disaster. All right, now, so in both of those scenarios that I just laid out for you, auction prices are going to spike. In scenario 1, maybe not as much, but in scenario 2, if that does happen, prices are going to be insane. So what have I done in preparation for this? Well, I do this actually every year, starting December, January, and early parts of February. And even this year, because I knew it was going to be worse than any other year we've ever seen, I started trying to load up in November. Is that I've been buying more cars and holding more cars than we're accustomed to. Usually we keep 70, 80 cars on our lot. In the last week we had 120, and we bought some more and we sold those 15, like I said. So I think we probably have like 115 right now. I wanted to have more, but we just kept selling through this whole these whole last few weeks. So my sales team's kind of been working against me. It's a good problem to have, but I haven't been able to load up as much as I wanted to. But I'm doing this because I know that after these other dealers start selling cars through tax time, I'm not going to be able to buy anything at auction, because I'm not going to pay these prices that these other dealers are paying and then have to sell these vehicles to my customer for $2,000 more than I want to. And I would have to do that because I'd have to pay so much at these auctions for it. So these cars that you see behind me, I've got more here than what I usually have during the year. We've loaded up as much as we can, just sitting right here in the lot. We've also got all these cars right here that are in recon. That just means that we're in the process of getting them ready. And we have cars stored on the storage lot. So we have the luxury to be able to actually bring cars here and store them away from our lot, because our lot can only hold so many cars. So if I want to load up, then I have to find a place to be able to store cars that won't fit my lot. And a lot of other dealers, they don't actually have this luxury. They're not able to rent another lot to be able to take cars so they can load up. So even if they have enough money, they have lot constraints. So I mean, their lot might only be able to hold 40 cars, but even if they have 40 cars, then they can buy more. If they don't have any kind of way to store their vehicles, then that just puts a cap on what they can have. So that's going to put more strain on the system, that if these dealers even have the cash to be able to buy more cars, when they start selling through and they start emptying some of their space on their lot, that's going to push them to even go buy more, and they want to stay filled so they can a full lot looks like a better lot to buy from. That's just the way that a lot of car dealers think, is that when you see a lot full of cars, you look like a more reputable dealer because you just have inventory sitting there. And a lot of these dealers are just going to always have a full lot no matter what the prices are at auction. They're going to spend whatever it's going to take to buy these vehicles to fill up their lot. All right, so now, since I know that the prices at auction are going to spike, and I know they do it every year, but this year is going to be even worse, what I've done over the last 6 months is actually hold on to my turds. And I didn't buy all of them. Alex bought some too. Alex is my mechanic. But we're holding on to some of the stuff that we bought and we shouldn't have bought. Transmissions, motors, and it's just not cost effective to actually replace these cars. So we're holding on to them to be able to dump them at auction whenever these prices spike. So that's another way that you can see I'm kind of putting my money where my mouth is, because I know these auction prices are going to spike. I'm saving my turds so these other dealers can have them. They can deal deal with them. I'm not going to sell them to my customers, and they're not going to be able to either because they need motors, they need transmissions, but I'm going to dump them at auction, and I'm going to get a better price when these prices spike than had I sold them 6 months ago, even a month ago. I'm going to get better prices because these dealers are going to pay way too much for these vehicles. And I know a lot of these other car guys that you see on YouTube are doing the same things that I'm doing. I know that I've heard Lucky talk about him loading up and buying some cars. I know I've seen that Craig from Flying Wheels has stocked up. He even said that he was out of cash because he was buying as many cars as they can. I think that's a great idea, and I'd be curious to know if they're seeing the same kind of things that I'm seeing happen right now in different parts of the country. So now, bringing you guys out to the storage lot, showing you these cars that I have. By the way, all these cars have been fixed. They have all been inspected. They just need to go through some cleaning, fix any kind of little minor cosmetic stuff that they got going on. So they're really ready to just plug in as we sell more cars off of our lot. But all this is just to show you of what I'm doing, because the advice that I'm giving you, I'm showing that I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, because I know these auction prices are going to spike. I know that the demand is going to go up for these used vehicles even higher than where it is right now, and I'm loading up to prepare for that. So what does that mean for you as a consumer though? Right now, I'm just going to give you the same advice that I give you almost every video, and that's wait. If you have to buy a car right now, make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure you're getting it checked out by a mechanic before you buy it. You want to find the best deal, and you want to find the best quality of car. But if you do not have to buy a vehicle right now, don't buy one, because the prices are about to be the highest that we've ever seen used car prices in history. And that's going to be a factor of these dealers getting over leveraged. But I can tell you, we're not far from getting back to our overall downtrend. Just going to get through this tax season. We have to let these dealers load up again, and then the crash is going to come on the other side. And I'm not saying it's going to be an overall used car market crash. There's going to be a dump in prices because all these dealers are going to get overexposed, and they're going to stop buying cars at the auction. It happens every year, and it's going to be worse this year just because of how high the prices are going to get in a very short amount of time. All right, and just for the car question answers OGs, because you're the only ones that watch the end of the video, you know that I sold my truck about, what, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I am driving this right now. So it's a 2010 Subaru Forester. It's got 210,000 miles. Get a lot of questions about, hey, does a car with 200,000 miles still run? Yeah, it runs like a new one. So this one drives great. Actually, you saw me buy this, and if you're watching to the end right here, I'm sure you've watched that video too. But I bought this one at an auction. I think we paid $3,000 for it. It's a 2010 Forester. It's got 210,000 miles on it. I'm gonna drive it for a while. I'm gonna weigh out these prices too, because I want to get me something nicer. But not gonna buy anything yet. I'm gonna wait. So buy this, and then in 2 weeks I might be driving something else, and if I am, I'll let you know at the end of one of these other videos. So all right, so if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the support. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be able to keep you updated on everything that's going to go on through tax time, what's going to happen after. If we see these dealers getting crazy over leverage, we're going to see what prices are going to go through. Just subscribe to the channel, and I'll be able to show you all that in upcoming videos. Please like this video, and leave us a question down in the comment. And as always, thank you guys, and I hope you have a great day.